I firmly believe that if you listen, they will tell you how to sell them.
Today we're sitting down with the former mayor and city councilman of Corona, California, Tony Daddario, to break down how getting involved in your local community, your chamber of commerce, city events, civic networking can lead to more gigs, more credibility, and more opportunities to grow your mobile bartending business.
Tony, you're a man of the people. Are there any like tips and tricks you can give people for like networking effectively?
And so, and that is the analog way of networking, right? Is you have to, what you get out of it is what you put into it. And so,
what is the biggest thing you're seeing of this, or why businesses don't succeed?
So, Tony, I want to hear from you. Like, how important is it to be involved in your local community? If you're serious about getting booked more, getting connected, and turning your business into a local staple, this episode is your playbook. Let's get into it. This is Behind the Mobile Bar. All right, so first of all,
wait a minute. We're permanently not getting like introduced ever again, right? Is that how
never.
it's
Oh, I
They
know.
know who we are now.
Okay, that's true.
Yeah, they
Good
should
point.
know you guys.
I'm sorry. Okay, first
We're
of all,
YouTube
Around
famous.
there, Yeah, but first of all, look at this beautiful sound we got behind us,
I know!
right?
It's so
Right?
pretty. What
Ever
did we
since
say
Tony
Money
jumps
earlier?
on the episode, we got a new sign for him.
step your
man.
game up, right?
I mean,
Yeah,
it is Tony, so you better step your game up.
Right, that's true, man. Thank you so much for joining us, man. This is fantastic. Like,
Appreciate it.
for you to come here on. We film these on Monday nights. You're away from your kids. You could be a million places, but you're here with us. So,
No place I'd rather be.
hey, look at that! Look at that!
What a
I
beautiful
love it.
lie.
I love it, man.
Unless
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Man, we have so much to talk about. I'm really excited for this one because it's a different spin and twist than what we normally would have, but it's so important. And I think that most of our audience, the mobile bartenders, they don't do stuff like this, right? And especially in this day and age with social media and all stuff, like everything I just said. But getting involved with your community, getting to know the people in your community is super important. So, first of all, I'm excited to just hear about your story. Give us the journey. We talked offline about it,
Sure.
and just how you became a mayor of Corona, of a city,
Yeah.
right? But it's also what's great. You're so humble. Like you try to be
That's our
normal, is what
favorite.
everyone says. You try
That's
to
our
be
favorite.
normal, but
Man.
once you meet him, like he's just a dope guy. He's just an awesome guy. So would love to hear, man, your beginnings and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so moved to Corona 2009, originally from Orange County. And my journey to being an elected came because I got mad.
Oh.
Right, I got mad at the way the city treated the company that I worked for, which was local. And I've always been the type of person that you've got two choices. When you're mad, you could either complain about something or you could do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't just going to complain. So I decided to do something about it. That was in about 2005, 2016. And from the time that I actually ran for office in 2020, I did a lot of educating myself on how do you run a campaign? What does it mean? What are you going to be doing? I went to city council meetings, and once I kind of made that commitment of I'm going to run, then it was full go, and taught myself how to run a campaign. What elections look like, how to fundraise, how to do all that type of stuff, and the connections and the people. And my background professionally is in construction sales.
Right.
So talking to people is easy. And what I tell people is knocking on doors for me was making 9,000 cold calls.
Oh my god!
Right. And so in that year that I spent knocking on doors and introducing myself to future voters, during COVID, right?
Oh, wow.
2019 to 2020 through 2020. During COVID, right in the height of it, and trying to get people to answer the door and have a conversation. So
Wow.
it was very interesting, but out of all of the people that talked to me, out of all those conversations, kind of guided me onto what it is that I wanted to accomplish here, because ultimately I'm their representative.
Mm-hmm.
So I have my own ideas, but I'm also beholden to all of the voters in my district.
And Tony, does anyone in your family have a history of being like a city official, running for politics?
Nothing. Was
So
that
your
never
first-
on your radar?
Yeah,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
that's exactly the way that it is. You know, my wife, you know, God love her, she's very patient with me, but she's an engineer, right? So an engineer's mind is
Yes.
it's either this
It's
or
black
Yes.
and
that.
white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And as a salesperson, I'm right in the middle. It's
Yeah.
kind of that gray area. So when I said, you know, I'm gonna run for city council, and it wasn't like a hey, what do you think? It
Yeah,
was
just-
I'm gonna do
I'm
this.
telling you.
Right. Right.
Do not do that. If you're watching this and you're thinking about it, do not do that. Have the conversation
Oh my
and ask
gosh.
about it, but
Yeah.
don't
Right.
just say I'm going to do this. But that was the answer. Like you've never once talked
Yeah.
about this. You know, you've never. You know, my mom would say, not as a little kid, did you ever once say I'm going to be the mayor? Never. And so it was just that defining moment of I'm mad. Why would the city treat this company that I worked for like this? What can I do to affect change?
Wow.
Oh, good for you.
So
here
moral
we
of
are.
that story, don't get Tony mad.
Yeah.
Right.
I know.
Well, he's just gonna
Okay.
take over the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
Kinda like one way or
mad.
another.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you know what? Let me ask you this, Tony. That situation that got you mad at your company, were you able to make any change in the position that you were in within your company?
Well, so I wasn't mad at my company.
You're
I was
mad at
mad
the
at the way
city.
the
The
city
city.
treated
Yeah.
the company.
Got
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Got it. Got it.
And so after I was elected, I kind of made, you know, the personal pledge that I wouldn't allow the city that ultimately now I'm responsible or one of 5 people responsible for
Right.
to treat people the same way.
Right. Right.
So, and you know, we talk about this later, but you know, the business community as council members, we all kind of have maybe something that we're passionate about. And, you know, we've got a council member that was a former firefighter, and, you know, we've got one council member that is really big into policy, like that's her jam.
Right.
Yeah.
And for me, it's always been the businesses. And
Yeah.
the way that I talked about it to businesses were, you guys operate in our community. And if you don't live here, you don't have a vote, right? But the city depends on you because you're bringing jobs, you're bringing,
Right.
Right.
you know,
Okay.
tax revenue, you know,
Right.
all these things, but you don't have a say. And I kind of felt like, you know, listen, the district that I represent has a lot of businesses. And so I want to listen to you and I want to reach out to you and I want to see what I could do to make your business life in Corona more beneficial.
Yeah. That's a
For everybody.
perfect segue to when we first opened up Happiest Hours. Like, man, we would not be in the place in our wine and spirit shop. That is, like, we would not be in the place that we're in right now if it wasn't for you. It's like, it was. We have serendipity in the building. It was serendipitous
Yeah.
Right.
that
right.
you were like. I think, were you mayor at that time, or
I think
you-
I was just,
you-
I think it
yeah.
was just
Just
going
before,
to be.
It was
Right,
right
that's
before your
right.
turn.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because I never will forget it. You know, I literally can see it. You know, we went to our first Chamber of Commerce
right.
meeting at Tacos Al Fuego, and I just remember like we walked in and there's just like a sea of people,
Uh-huh.
right? And there's a sea of people, and then like quickly you see that they're all kind of swarming around one person,
Yeah. Right.
this guy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I just remember that like, you know, you see so many people, and these are all business owners, right? So like people of stature and relevance, you know, not that you have to be a business owner to be a stature and relevance, but like you know, people with stuff,
Yeah.
with stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
And Tony's giving them their time. I think you even had a handler, like somebody was like walking.
That
okay,
is true. I
and then
remember
walking
that.
you guys,
I remember that.
next,
Sucker
Yeah.
come on
Credit.
up.
Right.
And so
right.
I'm like, oh, I mean the president, you know, right?
Yeah.
And so we had, you know, so we wait our turn, you know, we finally get there, and boom, you know, Tony just starts talking, and like you just were not what I was expecting.
Right.
I was expecting, you
Like
know,
the super buttoned up, stiff, snuffy
yeah,
guy.
just
Yeah.
like oh, he's not gonna like alcohol. He's not gonna like, you know, we're young and
Right.
you know we're new to this industry, and I
Yeah.
thought there was gonna be a little bit more politics, but from the very first moment, I felt like I was talking to a friend.
Yeah,
Aw.
100%.
Seriously.
And you also to backtrack a little bit, you have to understand like what we went through. We bid on a place in Ontario
Right.
Oh, I
at
didn't know
first.
that.
Yeah, this
Right.
was
Wow.
right in Ontario Ranch.
Yeah.
We literally signed an LOI, this and that. And at the last minute, Stater Brothers was just all like, they can't be over here. And I asked them before we like engaged. I said, hey, is that gonna be a problem? I know Stater Brothers sells alcohol, stuff like that. And they were like, no, we're good. And at the last minute, someone from higher up Stater was like, they're not coming over here.
Wow.
And we like literally pulled loans. We did all this stuff.
It was a gut punch.
It was definitely a punch in the stomach.
Yeah.
And then we landed on this
Jerks.
place here.
Thank you.
And then that moment when we were at Tacos El Fuego, and it was just like it was like so much love and embracing, you know what I mean? In that moment of just like, we needed that.
When you were
we
already
literally
just
took
so
an
down
L.
now.
We
Right.
took
Yeah.
an L,
Right.
and I needed a win.
It was the perfect time. And then, like, to even make it better, not only is this guy super down to earth,
Right.
and like, you know, he's shooting the shit with us, and like really, but like understood the concept very quickly.
Yeah, that was
Right?
big too.
That
Yeah,
was
people don't
huge.
really understand what we were doing. They're like, "What? You
Like,
guys
wait,
selling
what? But like
alcohol?"
you're bartending,
Right, right. I'm
and
so
like
confused.
Tony always saw, okay, like there's more to this. There's
Right.
Bigger
growth to it.
picture.
He saw
Yeah.
the bigger picture, and he saw it
Was
fast.
it just a bunch of drunks? Or
Right,
something?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Because well, that is the cliche when people think alcohol, bartenders.
Oh
they
yeah,
just
yeah.
think parties,
You're thinking,
drugs,
oh yeah. Like you guys are the worst. But and not only that, but then Tony's like we're talking, and I'm kind of looking behind me, and I see like there's a line of people, and I'm like, do we need to leave?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Like, you got other people to talk to.
Yeah.
And Tony goes, y'all ain't leaving. Like I'm having a good time. Like, let's
Yeah,
just keep
yeah.
on.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that.
And that was like, dude, seriously, Tony, like that was the most warmest welcome I have had from someone who didn't have to,
Right.
From someone with a position of power,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna hire this guy for a hype man.
Yeah.
That's-
Right.
It's a
Right.
great introduction.
Tony's my guy.
And you know, I still have your guys' flip
Pitch deck.
Oh my
pitch deck. I
God.
still have that.
Right.
Wow.
You know, I'm keeping that from when you guys are taking over taking over the world. I can be like, I remember back when they
Don't
spent
forget the
20
little
minutes
guys.
telling me it's not a liquor store, right?
Yeah.
Well, what
There's
is
no
it? You
lottery
sell liquor?
tickets.
Yeah,
And
but
it's
it's
a
not a
store.
liquor
It's not a
store.
liquor store.
It's not right.
Wine and spirits.
Yeah. Are you
yeah.
gonna have lotto tickets or not?
Right. Right.
Can I
Snacks.
buy? Yeah, can I
And
buy
snackies.
snacks
Right.
and cigarettes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And I remember, like, you know, you guys are very intentional about the educating piece,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it just kind of shows like where you guys have gone, right? I mean, you guys started off as slinging drinks yourselves,
Yeah.
Right.
right? And then, you know, the iterations that your business has gone through, and who knows what it's going to look like in 5 to 10 years. I'm sure you guys have a long range plan. But, you know, having to educate people, you know, the police department, it's not a liquor store. You know,
Right,
right.
right.
You know, the fire
Right.
department, it's not a liquor store.
Right.
The business owners, you know,
Right.
it's not a liquor store. But I mean, really and truly, man, thankfully, Stater Brothers was closed minded in Ontario because
Thank
Corona
God.
was lucky and we landed you.
Oh man, thank
You
you
were
so
lucky.
much for that.
You
And-
were lucky.
Yeah.
And really, I even thinking about it, what you guys do versus what Stater Brothers does, it wouldn't have been competition.
Yeah,
No,
actually, that's
yeah.
why.
completely different
Right.
clientele.
That's
Yeah.
why I was like, this is okay. It's gonna be fine.
Right.
We're two completely
Yeah.
different. You know, even though
They
we may
just-
sell
they
the same
didn't see the
product,
bigger
but it's
picture.
different.
No,
Yeah.
They didn't see the bigger picture.
But
Yeah.
you know, but
Especially
it's
when I see their commercials.
right and yeah, right.
have commercials.
And you know what? It's another thing with you, Tony, that was super helpful is like your role. There's a lot of herding cats. Right? It wasn't just like, okay, we know Tony now. Like we built a relationship and there was a process. Right. And I know you deal with this a lot, right? Sometimes dealing with the city could take a while to get things done.
Yeah.
But Tony, we were able at the 11th hour type of thing. Tony, I need some help here.
Yeah.
And we'll make a call in some miraculous way. The thing got done. And you may think the world's over. You're dealing with this thing that you're like, if we don't get this done, it's a wrap. And you're dealing with so much because you're like, you have tenant improvement time, you have like all this stuff, and everything is like timely. But we know everything takes time. There's always the handing off the baton to somebody.
Yeah.
And in one position, somebody was just holding the baton too long. And I was just like, Tony, man, I need some help. Whatever you can do. Literally, it might have been less than 24 hours. Like something magically
we were
happened.
going to be late for our grand opening. We weren't going to make it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was for something that we had no control over.
Right.
And
Like,
like,
the paper towels for the dispenser wasn't on the right side of the wall.
Yes, just something,
It was something silly like
crazy.
that.
Yeah, like
and Ryan's like,
I think it was getting an inspection signed off is what
Something
it
like
actually
that.
was.
Yeah, that's what it was.
It was
Right,
like
right.
I think it was like the handicap, like paint not being far enough, and then Ryan's like, I think maybe Tony, maybe we can hit up Tony. And I was like, ain't no way. And then like Batman in the night.
Yeah.
This guy came and rescued us.
Yeah.
Painted it himself.
Right. And,
Did not paint it myself.
and you know what? I need people to understand that, like, you can't forget those things.
Right.
It's
right.
easy to forget it, though. It really
Oh,
is because,
man.
right, as in a business, you have so many problems and fires you put out.
Right.
That was just one fire. What's the next one, right? But, like, you got to kind of humble yourself, take a step back. Like, dude, if you didn't do that for us, where would we have been, right? What would have happened? Now, I do think that, like, ultimately, right, we're going to make things happen, but man, it would have been a lot harder. You know, so I think sometimes we got to all take a step back and like, who helped us? Who guided us through this process? And don't forget those folks, man. So, but before we jump into the next topic, we got this lovely mocktail.
We have
Sitting
mocktails
over
today.
here.
We're all
Look at
trying
us
to
being
watch
healthy.
our girlish figures this week because we've been drinking a lot.
Sure have.
A lot. Yeah, we have a mocktail today. So it's a macarita. Macarita.
Macarita.
Isn't there a song?
Thank you. You guys are quick. I love it. I love it. Macarita. So we have hibiscus syrup, coconut. Thank you. Coconut, lime juice, and the almave, which was very much new to me today. So this was a little bit of R&Ding a lot of times right before we started, but I think it turned out pretty
It
good.
looks beautiful.
Yep.
Cheers, guys.
It looks like a
Cheers.
Jolly Rancher.
Drink.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's
You know?
Ryan's favorite.
Oh, from a distance.
From a
Boom.
distance.
Brian, I think you know almave way better than I do. Do you have any input on that?
So it's a non-alcoholic spirit, a tequila. And actually it's backed by Lewis Hamilton. I believe he's the
race car
racer.
driver.
Right.
F1 racer.
That's it. That's it. So they're doing an amazing job with the product itself. And you know, look, we live in a world where people don't drink as much anymore. And having a mocktail option is cool. And I think what's cool about this is that it doesn't make anybody feel left out. So if you're a mobile bartender, I always recommend like, hey, just buy a bottle and just have it with you at your events. Now, you can buy one. There's no alcohol percentage in there,
Right,
so you can
right.
buy it and pour it.
Right.
Right? So you can have it with you, but it's great for the folks that don't drink, but they want to feel included. So you
Yeah.
can still make a really good mocktail out of it, and they like it. Or another way to do it is you can split cocktails. So for the ones that are, you know, going a little bit overboard,
Yeah.
you can say, all right, I'm going to do a half ounce of real tequila,
Right.
a half ounce of this tequila, and it all kind of like blends in, and it's like, you know, the ABV of a seltzer type of thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
And there is a huge like you mentioned, non-alc movement. So we're seeing a lot of mocktail only events. So mocktail only weddings,
Right.
mocktail only everything. So this is better than just throwing in some club soda.
right,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Versus just like juice and syrups and sodas,
This is
right?
what a real mixologist is doing.
Well,
Right.
that's the difference. I mean, a million years ago, decades ago, literally, I bartended, right? Just at a bar. And if somebody wasn't a drinker, that was it. You know, club soda and lime.
Yeah.
It
Right.
looked like it could have alcohol.
Yeah,
in it,
yeah,
right,
yeah, yeah.
right? But this is delicious.
Oh,
and and you could taste like the good parts of the tequila.
right.
Right?
Yeah.
Rather
Got
not
it.
the stuff that you're like, oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
oh
yeah,
boy,
yeah.
here we go. You know, it's very good.
Oh, that
Thank
could
you.
Yeah.
Thank you so
That's
much.
Yeah, great job.
I could be, you know, misspoken on this, but I think they actually make it as tequila and they strip out the alcohol. Versus some places they'll make it without the alcohol, so you still get those flavors in there,
The
but there's no
agave.
alcohol
Yeah.
percentage. Yeah, the agave's in there. So
Yeah, this is fun.
yeah, no, it's pretty interesting.
This
but
is fun.
no,
this
this
is
is
really
you did a
delicious.
great job on this. I know it took you a few tries, like, oh, let me figure out, because you're right, it is a little sweet.
I was just, it was really sweet. This
Right.
is my first time playing with it,
It's
but I'm
really
glad.
good, though.
Yeah,
You
it's
called
always
it.
good
Yeah,
to.
did a great
Adding the
job.
salt.
The
adds a
salt,
lot
I
of
think,
good
yeah,
balance.
was good.
helps balance it
Ooh.
out a lot.
That was good.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Well, guys, let's look. This episode, you know, again, we are so focused on social media. We even have an episode about how important that is,
Right.
right? Like
Right.
social media. But like, it's also important to be involved with your local community. That's where it all can start. At the end of the day, you went to high school in your city, right? You went to middle school. You know people that it's almost like it's a layup in a way when it comes to trying to conduct any form of business, to conduct business with the people that you trust, right? Or people that trust you, right? That's kind of where you want to start. And I think some people forget about that. One of the things that I tell when we talk to newer mobile bartending companies and they're lacking leads and stuff, I'm like, look, in order to get your leads, you're either going to spend time or money, one of the two, and you probably have more time than money.
Right.
Right. So one of the things you can do is get yourself involved with the chamber and get involved with the city. So, Tony, I want to hear from you. You deal with a ton of businesses. Like you said, one of your things was like helping out the businesses, right? And so, like, how important is it to be involved in your local community, when it comes to running any kind of business that you've kind of dealt with? And, how have you seen success with some of these folks?
Well, like you had kind of mentioned the benefit, right? So if you guys didn't introduce yourselves to me and initiate the relationship, so to speak, I think we would have probably got there down the line. It just wouldn't have happened. But having somebody, having a relationship with your elected official, right? So the city of Corona, we're split up into districts. Your business is in my district, right? So, but not that I wouldn't be as attentive to a business outside of my district.
Right.
But you guys got a special place in my heart, right?
Forever
Is
my
that
mayor.
common for cities, by the way? How Corona does
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
It's fairly common.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
fairly common.
Okay.
But the benefit to introducing yourself and kind of running to rather than running away from a regulatory body is you develop those relationships, right? So I think in your case it was some sort of permit. I'm not the guy that goes out and gives the permit.
Right.
I'm not the guy who the permit guy reports to.
Right.
I'm up the line a little bit further, and for me, when you're like, "Hey, we need this," and sometimes it's a million things going on, something gets overlooked or something, and I can help refocus it, right? So I send an email to the city manager, "Hey, what's going on with this?" And usually then the message comes from the top down, right? And so
And then everybody's scared because the mayor's calling us.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
But that's not like a little thing, because I remember talking to you, Tony. Like, tell me what your days were like, right?
Oh,
like,
they were
That's a
crazy.
great point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that.
I remember
Yeah.
you, like, from the minute you woke up.
Right.
Oh yeah, like I carry two phones. I've got my work phone and then I got my city phone, and it's ding 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 all day long,
Oh,
right?
gosh.
And it's busy. But I don't want to get off this point really
Yeah,
quick. Is
yeah.
like that's kind of the benefit of not just being involved, but forming those relationships.
Right.
Is that when it hits the fan,
Yeah.
right? And you need help,
Right.
and sometimes whether you're at the counter talking to somebody about planning or something like that, sometimes you need to go up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you need to go up and up and up and up,
Right.
right? And so ultimately, if it gets to me, usually it's hit the fan,
Yeah.
right? And in my 4 years and a little bit of change, nobody has been abusing that.
I was just about to say,
right.
like,
No, nobody's
Okay.
calling me, "Hey,
Yeah.
what?" I don't
every
get.
little thing.
Yeah, I don't get that. I get it when usually people will say something like, "Man, I'm so sorry to bother you. I know that this is like an insignificant little
Right,
thing, but
right.
can you help me out with this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, And I look at it having run businesses, like every minute you're not open, you're not making money, right?
Yeah.
And
You understand that.
and
Yeah.
I
Man.
want you to be successful, right?
Right.
I want the Corona Happiest Hours to be the flagship, and then I want you guys all over the world,
Aw.
but this is where you start, right?
Right,
Yeah.
And
right,
so
right.
I want you to be successful, and I believe that everybody that works for the city wants you to be successful.
Right.
Right.
It's just sometimes they're like, "Well, yeah, you just got to paint the curbs." They don't understand
Yeah.
if I don't open, like I got to pay rent and I'm not making any money. It's like,
Right.
and in your guys' case, I mean, you guys were all in,
Oh, man.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm going to sell my house.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
See,
going to,
he remembers it.
CJ was
Yeah.
giving blood,
Oh,
right? I
yeah.
mean, it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you're all in
Blood
on
and
your
then some. You got some
dream,
kids out
Yeah.
there?
and there's no margin of error,
Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
so sometimes, that just gets lost a little bit. And
Yeah.
so I can just help refocus. And so having those relationships. So if, you talk to your people that are doing mobile bartending and they're in their community, and you're 1,000% right. In finance, this is your friends and family round, right?
Right.
Those are the
right.
people that you go to that,
Yes.
they love you. So they want to help believe in you.
Right.
the same thing for your own community, right? They
Right.
love you already, and
Right.
they want the best for you. So, you know, those are the people that you get to kind of mess up with
Yeah.
and figure out your
Yeah.
craft,
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
right? And like,
That's
man,
it.
I can't make a margarita to save my life, but I made 12 for my mom and my family, and they helped me figure it out,
Yep.
right?
Right.
Yep, exactly.
And then Crazy Aunt Lou was like, "Put some coconut in there," and you're like, "Oh shit, that's the right
Bad
thing, right?"
idea, yeah.
So those are the people that you should feel comfortable failing with because they're helping you
Yeah.
to perfect your craft.
Such
Yeah.
a great
So
point.
run to those people in your community because and I haven't found I can speak for certain with all of my colleagues on city council. All of us want the best for
Right.
every
That's awesome.
business
Yeah,
in
I can
Corona.
second that for sure.
And not just for every business, but for our residents, we want the best. So anything that we could do to help facilitate, we will. Now, sometimes the city manager, reminds us that we have a very fine line that we walk, right?
Mhm.
We are not operational. We're big picture, and
Yeah.
they're operational. But sometimes a well placed, hey, can kind of help ease that. He'll watch this and he'll probably remember you're not operations.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
you're big picture.
Right.
We'll be
Which is
thanking for his
tough.
role,
It's
too.
tough for
Yeah.
somebody that's spent years operationally. But
Right.
that's the fun stuff is for me to be able to hey, make a phone call and figure something out, and then you guys get to go, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
you guys are open and you guys are on your way, because ultimately so many businesses don't succeed, and there's a lot of different reasons why, but we don't want to be one of the reasons. We
Right.
want to say,
Right.
Mhm.
hey, we removed all of the roadblocks
Yeah.
and go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Do
Right.
you.
What is
Right.
the biggest thing you're seeing of business or why businesses don't succeed?
Good question.
Well, I mean, percentage wise, if you're a restaurant, 50% fail or whatever, there's percentages all over the place for any type of industry. But, I think really when in our community, it's, did they get it in, now that I'm thinking about it, did they get the local people involved in what it is that they do?
Mhm.
Or are they, if you're like, as an example, if you're a restaurant in a community and you are so focused on attracting people outside of your community
Right.
rather than the
Right.
people inside your
Yeah.
community,
That makes
then
sense.
yeah, you might get a couple hits on the weekend from somebody that drove in,
Right.
but Monday through Friday, the people that are
Right around the corner.
right around the corner,
Yeah.
Those
You
are
need
the-
them.
Yeah.
you need
Yeah, that's a
them.
good point.
You need those cheerleaders. We were very fortunate this weekend to have a taste of Happiest Hours where we showcase. And I've been outside. I've been out of the store for a little bit, and it was really great to see the community still come out and show up.
Yeah.
People who were there from
The beginning.
the very
There was a
beginning.
lot of familiar faces.
oh my
a lot.
gosh, and I was like, man, even though I haven't been around, I just like you can't appreciate your community enough, because you're right, Tony. Those are the guys who come in on a Tuesday when you've nobody's been in the store,
Mhm.
but they're like, oh yeah. I just
Yeah.
wanted to come in, check in on you, make sure you guys are still here,
Yeah.
right? Like those are the ones who are getting you by,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, that was
yeah.
part of your guys' business model, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you guys are doing tastings every Wednesday, and you're bringing new things in, and CJ and has offered up his liver for R&D, right? And,
Thank you.
and-
He does it willingly.
yeah, as I said, he offered it up,
They
right?
twist my arm a
Me
little
first.
bit.
right? And so, I remember him telling me the Uncle Nearest story,
Oh,
man.
he was
right?
so
When he
good
went
at
to,
it. Yeah.
to Tennessee, and
Mm.
and right before he told me, like I don't know, I read something somewhere about Uncle Nearest, and then I don't know, a couple of weeks later, CJ was telling me all about it, and I'm like, and it clicked. I'm like, oh, I remember hearing something about it, and then he's telling me it, the story behind it, and you're just like, wow. How do you not want to support something
Mhm.
like that? Like, okay, let's buy a bottle, and
That's
okay,
it.
great.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
And just things like that where you can go to a liquor store
Right.
and buy a bottle of Uncle Nearest, but maybe you got to read a label,
Yeah.
right? And so
Right.
part of what it is that you guys do, and you do it so well, is the education and the story behind it. where you're like, and I've sent people in here to buy stuff, and I've come in because I'm trying to buy a gift for somebody.
Right.
And people are like, well, what do you want to buy a gift for? And what's the situation? And asking me all of these questions. And I'm like, dear God, just give me.
You know,
Right.
So many questions.
Store already,
Right.
yeah.
But then you settle on a bottle. And like for me, I remember giving the gift and somebody was like, man, where did you get this? Like, this is great. And I'm like, oh, that's what I do. I pick out, right?
Yeah.
No, it was, I believe it was Alana. She like narrowed it down to like 1 or 2 selections. And then, then I bought something and it was great. But what a service that you guys are providing. And that's just one thing that you guys do,
Right.
right? Like that's just a cog in the wheel, just
Yeah.
a little one.
It's the fun part.
Yeah. And it makes me think of, right, we were a new concept, right? Even though it's like, still a bottle shop, right? Like other bottle shops, but a new concept. You see a lot of different concepts that come into the city. And obviously there's a lot of franchises and then a lot of new concepts. Like, what would you say is like the big difference, between working between the two? Like, do you see a lot more failures with newer concepts? Do you see franchises about the same?
So I've been in Corona since 2009, and I am still I am still surprised when I come across something that I haven't seen before, and maybe it's like a little hole in the wall, and they're thriving, and you're like, man, where the heck was this?
Right.
And in our community, demographically, we're a heavily Hispanic community, and so as a result, we have a lot of Mexican food, right? And then there's always new Mexican joints opening up, and I'm always like, there's 400 within a stone's throw of where you're at, right? And so, I and we have some just phenomenal food here, but I just wonder, are they saturating the market? And it's because that's what they're comfortable with, obviously.
Right.
But are they saturating the market, and are they giving themselves the best chance to succeed? Right. And that's what makes you guys stand apart, is there's nothing
like it.
Like it out anywhere. Right. And so but I'm seeing things every once in a while, because I spend a lot of time driving around. It's kind of annoying. My wife hates it because I'm always looking at something, and I'll stop in the middle of the street. I'll throw it in reverse. I'm like, what is that? Because I'm always finding that. Yeah, I'm always finding things, but there's so many cool things that are here that you want to do anything that you can to shout out what it is that they're doing, so that the other people, who are also into that can find them, right?
Right.
And so, they're blasting on social media, they're getting involved, and they're doing a lot of different things. And so I think as I look at it, there was a big push in, the 2005 on to maybe like 2022. Social media, because it was inexpensive, right? It was growing, right? A lot of that medium has changed where you're having to pay for it, and it's, you're not getting the exposure. And so it's cyclical. People are going old school, and they're talking to people, and they're knocking on doors. And I'm sure that that's the way that it happens all the time. It's always a cycle that, this is the new thing. There will be, AI is coming out. So there will be,
everybody jumps on it.
Right. AI is, gonna do all kinds of crazy stuff, and then in 10 years people will be back to something else.
Right. To knocking on doors.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that goes away. It's just, it's new, and when it's new, people are jumping on it, and they're taking advantage of the fact that it's new, and they're able to capitalize.
Right.
I'm old enough to remember a time before social media, and I remember years ago. This is probably 2012, and I was interviewing a lady for a position, and I remember on her resume she said, I have 75,000 followers on Instagram. This is 2012.
Oh, she was before her time,
right? And I'm like, and I wish I could remember what her name was, because I wonder how many followers she has now.
Right.
76.
Right? But I giggled. Right? I'm like, what does that mean? Right? Who cares? 75,000 right now.
Oh my.
Like, she was so far ahead of the game.
She's probably retired.
Probably.
Yeah.
Right?
Right?
Like, no,
Right.
2012, 75,000 followers.
You're solid.
And now I'm thinking, was she also monetizing that right when that was becoming a
Right.
thing?
Yes.
And-
Interesting.
And just taking
Yeah.
off. And I will never forget that, except I can't remember her name, that's for sure. And I didn't hire her. Right? And that wasn't the reason why.
Okay.
But in my
This
mind,
trendy punk.
I
Yeah,
kept
right.
thinking to myself, why would you put that on a resume? And now
It's-
it's like
yeah.
everywhere. I've got
X amount of million.
6 million followers across all platforms, and people
Yeah.
are like, oh wow.
Yeah.
But back in 2012, I was like,
Yeah.
Stupid.
Was that back in the times that you mentioned of this thing called the Yellow Pages?
Right.
On a previous podcast, I remember I had mentioned the Yellow Pages, and these guys thought I was old.
yeah.
And I'm like,
Funny, because who's the older one?
I think I'm
really?
the oldest. I think so.
We'll discuss this.
Yeah, yeah.
On that couch, maybe.
yeah, yeah.
I think in the room, I'm the oldest.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's funny that you say that because we had the power go out at that company, and I had to get out the credit card machine that you
Oh,
put the
gosh.
credit card
Yes.
in, and then you put the
Yeah.
carbon on it, and you
Yep. And you,
Yeah.
And I remember
Man.
the girl that was running the cash register looked at me like I had just spoken Japanese. And she's like, I do what
These-
with
these
this?
kids
Right?
nowadays.
And she
Yeah.
was 21, 22, something like that, and never.
you blew her mind.
That
She
is
was like,
so funny.
what is
What's going on?
What
here?
is this
What are you
technology?
doing? What are you doing?
What is this? What is
Yeah.
this sorcery that you
Oh,
are
good
doing?
old days.
Right?
People
Good old
forget.
days.
Yeah, they're like, leave my card alone. What are you doing to my
Yeah.
card? Yeah, right,
That-
right.
I used to, that's the same thing. I used
Yeah.
to watch
Yeah.
the every now and then the power go out in the bank, and we had to pull out the
Yep.
the
The
machine.
machine.
And I remember we used to have young tellers that would be like, "Do we just go home now?" And I'd
Yeah.
be like,
Sweet, I'm
"Oh,
outta
no."
here.
Right,
No,
right.
Yeah.
no.
And I'm like,
We
"Trust
would
me."
have the delivery guys take your credit card and your
Yes.
receipts and use
Yes.
the pencil.
Yes.
Scratch over it. There you go.
So
Yeah.
true.
And then you
That's
had to
so
key
good.
it in when the power came
Yep.
on.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you
Oh,
mean I gotta, can I
Yeah.
just swipe this? And I'm like, no, you can't
Swipe
swipe
the
the paper.
paper.
Right.
People.
Right.
Oh,
So like that.
kids.
Yep.
Jeez.
That's all over now.
Yeah, look at
yeah.
that.
No
Yeah.
more. You know, so I got a question. I'm pretty interested about this because are there any like misconceptions about like getting involved with the city if you're like an entrepreneur? Like any expectations that they think. So for example, like when I tell some of these mobile bartenders like, hey, get involved with your chamber and build relationships.
Very
I always tell them, don't think when you go to your first chamber meeting you get all this business.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's about
Right.
building relationships. Like you have to go there, you have to show up, you have to like genuinely meet people and
And
follow up
support
with them
them.
and support them,
Right.
go to their stores, like be like how you treat your cousin or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, so is there anything like are there expectations that people think that like working with the city or getting help from the city that you see from your end?
Well, yeah, there are misconceptions, right? There are misconceptions of I opened the doors. Why am I not getting business? Right? It's like I opened a business. Where's the people? Right?
Right.
And you're right. You can't just go to one chamber event
Right.
and say, well, that was a waste of time. It's like
Yeah.
you are not investing in those relationships,
Right.
right? And a
Right.
lot of that comes with age and how people are kind of conditioned now, instant gratification,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Microwave
Yeah.
results.
I posted this on 5 minutes ago. Why doesn't it have 1,000 likes? You know,
What's
like,
going on?
what's going on, right? And so and that is the analog way of networking, right? Is you have to, what you get out of it is what you put into it. And so you have to go and kind of hone your craft too, right? Because you get to talk to 30 different businesses,
Right.
and these are your peers, right? So they may not be in the same business as you, but they've seen the same struggles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've worried about how they're going to make payroll on Friday.
Yeah.
They've worried about how they're going to pay for inventory. They have been through the frivolous lawsuits because somebody tripped or something along those lines, right? And so what a great support group for people of like-minded,
Yeah, that's a
Right.
great point.
right?
Help
That
out with
that
that,
are
yeah.
again, they're not your competition, but they are your peers
Yeah.
in business. And so, again, it's like your friends and family around.
Yeah.
Go and mess up in front of them.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna be sympathetic. They're gonna remember, man, I remember 15 years ago when I had to give my first pitch and I fell on my face and
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
picked me up and said, hey, good job, but maybe if you do this, that, and the other thing, right? And so, that's the benefit of kind of getting involved and kind of putting yourself out there, right?
Yeah.
I'm always amazed when they say, oh, actors are, this person is an actor, but they're super introverted when the camera's not off, right? But if you think about it as a bartender, right, you're on when you're bartending, you're personable, you're happy, you're smiling. When you're off, you might just be in your car, like driving, no music, just like
quiet. Yeah.
right.
Well, I don't want to talk.
I don't want to talk to anybody. Right. It's sometimes it's exhausting. I feel that too. Right. I'm out in the public and it's exhausting talking
only imagine.
all day long. Right. But it's the same thing. Right. So you're working for 3 hours or whatever your event is, and then you're off. Right. And so you have like that adrenaline dump, so to speak. Right. And so you're just like got to flow it out. But you're kind of doing your thing, but if you're off and on, and you're not practicing, sometimes you don't get great at it.
Right.
Right. And so for you and your mobile business, if you're not great, then you're not going to get a repeat.
Right.
Customer.
Yeah.
Repeat
Which is something we
customers.
touched on last week too, about just always being on and being yourself, because
being your best self.
being your best self.
Yep.
Yeah.
consistently.
Yeah.
That's
and
what we say,
being authentic too.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Same
Right.
thing.
Your
Yeah.
authentic
That's so
self.
huge.
Because I've met people that you're like,
Yeah.
you are not
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. You don't talk like
You're-
that.
that happy
Yeah.
all the time. Right.
Right.
And that side will come out at some point. You
Yeah.
can only maintain that for
Right.
so long.
Exactly,
Yeah,
right?
You can only maintain
So
that for so
true.
long.
And you hope it doesn't rear its ugly head
Oh, gosh.
at the
Yeah.
wrong
The
time.
worst
Wrong
time.
time.
Yeah.
Right.
And Tony, taking a step back, I think, now thinking about this is pretty good. So there's the chamber and then there's the city.
Yep.
Right. Let's talk about that, because I don't think a lot of people understand the differences. And I know I've been referencing the chamber a lot because I know they have a lot of connections with, businesses and stuff like that. But explain that a little bit and that relationship.
Yeah, so they are different entities, and a lot of people conflate the two.
Right.
And there's the Chamber of Commerce, and then there's the city. And the Chamber of Commerce is a private business that is a membership based, and they represent the business interests of that community, right? And so they may be, lobbying for certain legislation that helps, businesses, or they may be doing things that will help those businesses with legal questions that they may have, or this is how you're going to do this, or they provide resources to those businesses. So, but they're focused on the business, right?
Got it.
And they do a wonderful job of that, especially here in Corona. Our chamber does a great job,
Corona's is special.
Yeah.
right? And
Very
the-
active.
and the city, we have an economic development department, and they are there in a multitude of ways for the businesses that are here already, but they're also trying to get new businesses to come here and help businesses open up. And so we're not singularly focused, right? In the city, obviously, we care about the businesses in our community as well, but we're not singularly focused.
there's
We also
other
care about
things.
parks, and we care about roads,
environment,
and we care about all kinds of
You
different
guys
things.
are in charge of the entire city.
Exactly.
All civilians.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
just the businesses. Yeah.
So that's kind of the main difference. The chamber is focused on the businesses,
That's good to know.
and the city, we do care about our businesses, and we do focus on the businesses, but we're focused on other things as well.
Yeah. You guys lean on each other with things, right?
Yeah.
Like,
And there's usually a symbiotic relationship between the two.
right.
And it's funny. Our local chamber, the vice president of the chamber and I went to high school together, and
nice.
in Anaheim, right? And so
No
we both kind of
way.
separately
Oh.
made our way out here. And so she's wonderful, and she does a great job, and love Desiree.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, she's older than me. She's older.
Oh, okay.
Put her on
He had
blast.
to let that be known.
Yeah.
We had to let that be known.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He's
Yeah.
going to send
She's
that
gonna-
clip straight to
Yeah.
her.
She's gonna
Yeah.
give you shit for that one.
I will,
for
I
sure.
will get a text message for sure. What do you mean? Why are you telling people that I'm older than you? Well, you are.
Don't worry, we'll publish this episode like a month from now,
Yeah.
so you can live a little bit longer.
But the reality is like you have to join the chamber, right?
Right.
There's a membership
Right.
structure to that,
Right.
and they have a ton of events that you can participate in.
Right.
Like our chamber here, one of the events that they have recently brought back, and they're doing a great job, is the Taste of event, right? And so if I'm in the food or spirits business, like that's a great thing for me to be a part of. or I'm going to take a workshop on a new regulatory thing that affects my manufacturing business, or I'm going to, you know, I'm looking for labor force. So can you help me with labor?
Right.
You know, all these different things that they specialize in. So they're a great resource for that.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's so many resources, but no one's gonna knock on your door and just give you resources. You
Yeah,
have to
go out and-
you have to come out.
Yeah, put in
You got to
your
go to
time
those
and-
meetings. You got to put in the time,
gotta
meet
participate.
people.
Well, that's the thing.
all
You
that
have to
stuff.
support them too.
Right.
Yeah.
1000%.
Right.
But
1000%.
it's so worth it because, like you said, these are people of your peers, and so you just never know how you're gonna hit it off, right? Like, I mean, I hit it off with like Mark Edwards, right, president of the Rotary Club.
Rotary Club. I was just about to
And
bring that up.
but I think his business is like engineering or something,
Right.
right? Like, I mean, as a fact, my dad was an engineer, but like I don't
As
have
far as
anything
you
in
know,
common,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
with the engineer.
Right.
But like, you know, we just hit it off, right? And so, and that just led to a really great relationship, you know. So you really never know. Like Bobby's super. I mean, he's a man of the people too.
Yeah.
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 Who's
Yeah.
Bobby?
Bobby Spiegel is the vice.
He's the president.
He's the
president.
president.
Or
of the
chairman.
chamber.
Of the, I think he's
Yeah,
chairman
yeah.
of the
And so, but like, just like a super helpful
Yeah.
person, and like a wealth of knowledge. Also, like, you can tell he's just been doing this for so long, you know, that like, and for our mobile bartenders, right? A lot of us are just starting our businesses for the first time. So wouldn't it be smart to go to someone who's seen a ton of businesses
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
for decades?
Yeah.
And just pick their brain a little bit?
Yeah, and I think there's also like a serious level to it, right? There's a lot of like mobile bartenders like, oh, I'm just doing this thing on the side.
Right.
It's like if you're like selling shoes online or you're doing nails on the
Right.
side for somebody, but it's just like take yourself seriously, you know. And if you do that, like serious things may happen,
Yeah.
like gigs and events and stuff
Right.
like that, because everyone has something going on.
yeah.
You know,
What would be the point of doing it if, you know, if this is just your side hustle and you're happy doing 2-3 events a month?
Right.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
But if you get to a point where your side hustle can become your main thing, like
Yeah.
how awesome is that?
Yeah.
right,
That's
Right?
a
And
dream.
otherw's, what are you in business for?
Yeah,
Right.
100%.
You're not in business because you pay your rent with, high fives.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
you're in
That'd be
business
nice.
because you
Sure.
want to provide, for your family, or you want
Right.
to build something for yourself. Right. And so if you're halfway in, that means you're halfway out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
Right.
so, invest in yourself.
Yeah.
And again, you're starting a business. It's a mobile bartending business, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys talk about this, but you need to make sure you have the right insurance.
Yes.
Guess what? Guess who are members of chambers, right? Our insurance companies,
Yep.
right? And shop them. Say, hey, I need
Yeah.
to get. What type of insurance should I get? Because I don't know. You're not an insurance guy, right?
Right.
You were an insurance
You were
guy.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
Right,
yeah,
but-
we cheated.
We all just asked Ryan.
but if you didn't have that
Oh, of
background and you're like,
course.
well,
We're going
what
straight to the chamber.
what do I need?
Right.
Right? What levels do I need to have, and so on and so forth, right? So, I got to get a business license. How do I do that? Oh,
Yep.
well, this is the step that you got to
Right.
do that, right? So again, those are all resources, and then on top of it, you met somebody that has an engineering firm, and you never know where you're going to be, and you may overhear somebody say, "Man, I just need an engineer," and you're like, "I got a guy."
Yeah.
Guy.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what
Yes.
they're doing for you. And
Yeah.
you guys are doing events, and
Yeah.
and businesses have events
They all have
all
events.
the
All the
time.
time.
I was gonna say that's the other thing with joining the chamber. They are part of a lot of opening of new businesses. New
It's
businesses
huge.
need bartenders
Yeah.
to help them
Yeah.
celebrate their grand opening.
And I always say, like, you have to create the scenario, as in some people, they don't think about hiring a bartender.
Right.
So you have to plant the seed. Have you ever thought about this? And take them on a trip, right? Take them to their end destination. Wouldn't you like to have a grand opening where everyone's like having a great time? They have a couple of cocktails. They're like, wow, this is
Cheersing,
awesome.
yeah.
Cheersing,
Yeah.
and you're capturing content of them doing this and all these things. Like, yeah, that sounds great. Like, plant that seed, And so I think it's so big to get involved because everyone has something going on. And then there's a second layer to it, as in, okay, you might have a company party, but then they all have birthdays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
They all have personal
Right.
things going on. that's a double whammy. If you do a great job, you can get 2, 3, 4 things just out of
Repetitively.
Yeah.
Repetitive.
every single time.
That's the key.
And now I always tell the community is that like it's a private event. Like you have to, the cocktails are one thing, but like you have to be like family to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to get to that level to where it's all like, oh, I'm not going to have this party unless Viv is here.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care
Right.
what she's making. I don't care what's going on. I just need Viv here because it's always a good time when Viv's
Yeah.
here. And she's like, she knows my uncle now. She knows my auntie. Like, that's the level that you want to get at, right? So, you know, I got another question, and we'll go on a quick little break. But I know some people, they'll like hop cities.
I was literally get out of my brain.
I know,
right?
my bad.
That could be my question.
Especially like as a like let's call it like a mobile or an online business or something like that, to where they don't have a brick and mortar, right? So they're just all like, because if you have a brick and mortar, it kind of makes sense. Like, okay, be a part of the city that your brick and mortar's in, or maybe you have multiple brick and mortars, and that's
Right.
fine. But like they may hop different chambers, different cities, whatever. Is there any like thoughts, like negative thoughts about that, or any advice for people that are doing that?
I don't think that I've seen that really.
Okay, okay.
But I guess like my first thought would be if you are hopping, if you're today you join the Corona chamber, let's just say, and then after your membership is up, you go and join somebody else's. What are you searching for, right? For me,
Right.
the first thing that pops into my mind is what did you do
Mm-hmm.
to fully take advantage of
Right.
that particular situation for that year, and you're like, this is just the wrong space, and it could be, hey, this is the wrong space for me,
Right.
right? It's like I'm in the wrong room, so to speak. I need to get in the right room, but I haven't seen that a whole heck of a lot.
Okay, good to know. Yeah.
I have heard that a couple of times. People
Right.
saying, "Oh, my chambers isn't just supportive enough, or they don't do enough. I want to find one that's more
more
involved
active or
something."
more-
Yeah.
And
Right.
that could be. I tell businesses all the time. I'm like, you paid to be a part of the chamber,
Mhm.
and if they're like, I would expect some stuff. Like,
Yeah,
hey,
right.
what do I get for this?
Right,
Yeah.
What,
right.
what are the expectations here? Because I'm a customer. At the
Yeah.
end of the day,
Yeah.
I paid you.
Right.
So what do I get out of it?
What's
Yeah.
my return?
Right? And so sometimes, like, and I wouldn't say that our chamber does this, but I've heard where people are like, they think that, well, you need us. Like you paid, and you need us. And it's like, no. Those people that are your members are still your customers.
Right.
Yeah.
1000%.
Right.
Yeah.
And we all need our customers
Yeah.
in various shapes and forms.
Yeah.
And customer is a very, universal term. It's not just the person that comes in and buys something. It could be the person that you are in a relationship with, or that you're trying to do something with, right? We're all buying and selling on a daily basis,
Right.
all day long.
Yeah.
Right. I like it. Well, let's go on a quick break. I got so much more. This is fantastic. And we're going to talk about the city when we come back.
Yeah.
Cool?
love it.
Sweet.
Ooh.
I love where this conversation is going. This video was sponsored by Happiest Hours. We are a one-stop platform that's designed to help mobile bartenders succeed and grow in their businesses and make real-time connections effortless. Click the link in the description to book a demo today. Now grab a drink and let's get back to this podcast.
All right, guys. I'm excited for part 2. Okay, so I got an interesting one for you, Tony. So let's pretend you are a brand new mobile bartending business in the city of Corona. You're starting this up. And we talked about local, all that good stuff. What are you doing? How are you getting involved with the city? How are you getting involved with the chamber? What resources are you using? What are you doing?
Well, I think what I would probably do is I'd probably spend a little bit of time online and just look at, like, I know the city of Corona, we publish our calendar, right? And it's several months in advance. And I'm going to look for opportunities where I can insert myself, right? And then it's just kind of figuring out how it is that I go about doing that. So, like, as an example, in July, we start our summer concert series, right? So it's every Thursday at the Civic Center. We close off the street. We have some really cool bands, and then we also are doing like a night market, right? So food vendors, mobile coffee places, stuff like
Right.
that. And I know that we have like a beer and wine garden. So the next question would be, hey, can we have craft cocktails? Or, they're already checking wristbands and they're already doing all that type of stuff. So by the time the person gets to you, You know, they've already been ID'd and whatnot. But I would see if I can get involved in things that are already planned. And again, like, you know, the taste of events, like you know, a lot of municipalities have a taste of event, either run by the city or run by their local chamber. So how can I get involved, right?
Right.
And then, you know, one of the things that I hear you guys talk about a lot, and you know, even when I went to some of your guys' tastings, you guys are always collaborating with people that are not competing with you, but are, you know,
Like adjacent.
yeah,
or-
like, you know,
Right.
there's Fat Lip Pizza, right?
Right,
It's right by
right,
your guys'
right.
brick and mortar, and you know, they drop off a couple pizzas for your events, and it's good for them because people are getting exposure. It's good for you because you guys have people that are drinking alcohol that are now also eating
Yeah,
pizza,
right,
right?
right.
And so, you know, the synergies and the connective tissue on that is really good. So I would be looking for places that I could insert myself that I'm not a threat and that would enhance what they have going on, right? And so, you know, if I think about just your brick and mortar location, you know, you've got some restaurants that you could possibly partner with. You know, you've got a charcuterie thing that you that is, you know, that is close to you. That, you know, obviously that's good connective tissue. The pizza place, you know, all these places that you can enhance what they're doing without taking away from them, right? So you're adding to them, and that's a good way to get what I would consider as like free exposure, right? You got to
Right.
start somehow, and we talked about it in part one, right? We were talking about how social media in the beginning was great because it was free,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
and it
right.
was just who could quickly understand how it is. But now the social media people figured out that, hey, wait a minute, we could charge for this stuff, right? And so traditional marketing, where, you know, you were in magazines and newspapers and whatnot, kind of went by the wayside because social media was free.
Right.
And then now social media is charging, so people are kind of shifting how it is that I can get my word out without having to spend a ton of money up front. Because as you guys know, right, when you start up, man, you guys are already pinching pennies,
Yep.
Right.
right? And
Big
so you have to really be cognizant of your budget. So for me, I'm going to look for free. What can I do for free to get my name out there and you know, those types of things. So we were talking about, like, you have a horse trailer that
horse
you've
trailer bar.
converted into a bar, right? So just off the top of my head, you know, we're here in Corona, but the next town over is Norco.
Go. Yep.
Right? Horsetown, USA.
USA.
Right? So, right?
It is. What are you laughing at? It's Horsetown USA.
It really is, right? And even just a little bit further north, Harupa's got more horses per capita than even Norco does,
Oh,
right?
really?
So
Wow.
Oh, interesting.
so these are equine communities,
Yep.
right? You know, how can I? What do I
Play
do?
on that.
Drive around with my bar on the back of my truck with my phone number on there,
Yeah.
Right.
or even go to some of the venues that are there, you
Yep,
know, that
exactly.
do events and say, hey, you know, this is what I do, and if you ever need somebody to recommend or something along those lines, and that's what I would do. And I know I want to tie it back to you guys because I don't think that you guys talk about it enough. And one of the things that's super impressive, and you guys did it for probably a multitude of reasons, but educating people, right? You guys had to educate a whole bunch of people. We're not a liquor store. There's no
Yeah.
no lotto tickets. We're not selling cigarettes. We
Right,
we are a bottle shop, right? People are like, what is a bottle shop?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Those of us that are old enough to remember like soda bottle shops, right? Like, but
Wow.
you guys are everybody with a blank look, right? What is that?
All the youngins.
Yeah,
Googling it right now.
yeah, but you guys, you know, had to educate people. So if I'm starting a business that isn't something that is in the sphere already,
Right. Right.
you know, because they think, oh, I'm a mobile bartender, so maybe they're thinking, oh, what bar do you work at?
Right.
Right.
And you're like, no, that's not what I do, right? So I would educate people that are gonna use my service, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I would do in the very beginning. And then, you know, once I scraped some money together, I would probably join those organizations. In my day job in the construction industry, I'm a part of, I don't know, 6 or 7 different industry organizations that are specific to other people in construction. Right?
Right.
So I don't think that there's a mobile bar. You guys are creating the the industry organization for
Yeah.
mobile bartending. You guys are going to
Libation
be
Nation.
the regulatory body at some point.
Oh
Right?
gosh, I don't want those
Goodness.
problems.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Right, but
Yeah.
you know, you don't have something like that that's pre-made, so you kind of have to kind of
Create
find
it.
your own.
Yeah,
But-
Right.
yeah,
As you have been going about this now for a couple of years, there's probably places that you've been able to insert yourself that in the beginning you'd be like, why on earth would I be there? But you find yourself there and
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
man, that's a great customer.
You
Yeah.
mean like a dental group?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Like, who
dentists
would
like
have
to
known?
drink.
Who would have known that? Like, honestly, that's probably been one of our sweet spots.
Yeah.
Our dentists.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Weird.
Wow.
Orthodontist
Yeah,
and-
we have
yeah.
we when we were bartending, one of our best clients was a dental group that booked us 4 times a year,
Yep.
Wow.
every year,
Yep.
So cool.
Once a quarter,
once a quarter.
They're
You
having
can't ask for
events.
anything
Yeah.
more than
What
that.
what more could you want?
Yeah.
And it got to the point, right, where they stopped asking, like they stopped like putting their inside. Oh, can we get this cocktail? It was like, we
They just
trust
do-
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
What-
do
what-
it.
what-
Oh, I
just-
love
just pick
that.
the people out.
It
Yeah.
got to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
point. They just do it themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
They now go, you know how we use our platform and
Yeah.
we kind of send them the link just to make it really simple for them. They just go in there themselves and start
And
picking things.
click, 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 click,
Boom,
boom, boom.
booked.
Like,
You know, it's awesome.
and so it's such a very good point, right? That you said, you never know who is going to be that great customer for
Mhm.
you,
Right.
but you won't know unless you go and approach that business, or you put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You drive that horse trailer around, Norco or Harupa, and you let people know who you are. You have to educate them.
Right.
Right. What's the difference between a bartender who is charging $1,000 and a bartender who's charging $500?
Mhm.
You have to educate your customers on your ingredients that you're using.
Yep.
Right. The type
Your
of cocktails.
expertise,
Your
your knowledge.
expertise.
Yep.
Yeah.
Your
That's
knowledge.
it. That's it.
and you have to tell the story too, right?
You gotta tell the
First of all,
story.
the answer is always no if you don't ask, right?
Yeah.
The answer is
That's
100% guaranteed no,
there you go.
right? If you don't ask. But, you know, what, and we were talking about this before because that was one thing that I wanted to ask, you know, as a consumer, I want to make sure that I'm getting a good value, but you guys do little things. Hey, you know, you're going to have 300 people. I think that it's going to be about 10 bottles of vodka. But if we only open 9,
Yeah.
then I'm going to, you know, I don't charge you for the 10th
There you
one,
go.
right?
There
And
you
so
go.
that's part of the education process that you're
Right.
talking to your customers about. Listen, if we don't use it, great. If we open 9 bottles and I don't need to open the 10th one, but the 9th one is halfway, like, do you guys leave it there? Or
Yeah, it's theirs.
Yeah.
When
Their
they
bottle,
open it,
right?
It's theirs, yeah.
But at least you're not stuck with.
Yeah,
yeah,
but
Yeah.
like the extra bottle or
I
something.
mean, how many of us back in the day, you know, went to a party that they just had a table set up and it was build your own drinks and
Yeah.
there was like 18 bottles of alcohol and, you know,
Random
one bottle
stuff,
of Coke
yeah.
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
you know, one bottle of Sprite
Yeah.
or something. And then at the end of the party, there's all this booze
Oh.
You're right.
left over. And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I mean, when you're young, you're like, oh, we'll drink that next
Yeah.
week. But
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
as an adult, you don't
As a
want,
matured adult.
yeah,
More things to do.
Yeah, you know,
I don't
that,
want to clean all that up.
yeah,
Mm-mm.
that dynamic really kind of pushed me to say, like, there needs to be a magic wand and then a bartender to replace this kitchen counter of jungle juice stuff, because it also, like, I used to see that so many times, and I'll look around to the dynamic of what's happening. So one, it's like the host is running around like crazy because
Right.
people are going up to the counter of jungle juice and like, hey, do you have ice or do you have this extra thing? Do you have that? Host is going nuts, right? That's the first thing. Then you'd see like 2 different types of people as well in the party. You have somebody that would come in and they know somebody that knows somebody. So they're not as comfortable with going up to the kitchen counter and making themselves a drink. So
Yeah.
they're kind of like stuck in the corner unless they've contributed to it.
Right.
Right. And then you have on the other side of it, someone's drinking out of the handle.
Yeah.
Right. So it's
I
just
live
all
here.
like,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
So people think
Yeah.
like hiring a bartender, like, oh, we about to get drunk or this and that. No, actually, we're actually regulating
Yeah.
and we're normalizing the situation.
Right.
And we're not letting the host kind of like run around like crazy. Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, going back to the scenario of your make believe bartending company, right? Would you have and you might
Wildly
have answered
successful make believe.
Yeah, wildly successful. Would you have done anything for free in the beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you mentioned
100%.
that. Like, would you like have, you know, a couple of businesses like, hey, you having a company party? You ever thought about having a company party? Hey, I'll do it for
Yeah.
free. Like, would you have done something like that? Starting out?
Absolutely. I mean, that I would just look at that as the cost of doing business, right? I would want to be strategic, and I wouldn't want to just do that for anybody. But you know,
Right.
if I had a conversation with somebody, and like your dentist, well, what is it that you guys do 4 times a year? Oh, well, you know, we have this big thing because we're doing an award or whatever it is. So every year you guys, or every year, 4 times a year, you guys are doing this. Great. I'll tell you what, the next one, let me do it for free. Right? I'll come up with the 3 cocktails and we'll pick it. And if I do a good job, maybe for the next 3, you guys will use me. And, you know, that's business 101. That's not just mobile bartending.
Right,
That's
right.
just
Yeah.
business 101.
Right.
You know, if you're brand new, you got to get your name out there somehow,
Yeah.
right? And so,
Right.
you know, absolutely, I would do something for free, and I would take detailed notes, and I'd make sure that I wrote it off, and it became a business expense, and
There you go.
it'd be on my
Tax
taxes
write-off.
at the end of the
Hey,
year,
look at that.
right?
Look at
But-
Bring it to the tax write-off, people.
Yeah, exactly. it's a write-off. Nobody
Yes.
pays for it.
You just write it off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. but yeah, I mean, you have to build your brand somehow in
Right.
whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
So absolutely, and you know, I think my pool guy, who I've been using for 10 guys, I think that's how he got me. Hey, I'll clean your pool one time
Wow.
for free. If I do a good job, then you know we'll do the thing. And I felt bad for him. I have a neighbor that's got this big pine tree, and when it's windy, all of his
Oh,
pines
no.
end up in
Oh,
my
no.
pool, and it just lined up. And so he showed up. And
You're like,
I felt bad. You
sorry.
said I want to give you an opportunity, but
Tony's adding his trash and
Yeah.
his pool.
Right.
but you know what he said, and this kind of talks about his attitude. And I remember he said, "That tree ain't going anywhere." He goes, "When I'm doing your pool, I'm gonna have to deal with this every time it's
Right.
windy."
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm sure on his inside voice, he's like, "This mother," you
Right.
know.
Right.
That was what he was saying on the inside, but on the
Right.
outside, he's like, "I'm gonna have to deal with this, so
Yeah.
I might as well just deal with it."
That's such a very good point. You know, I think that Vivian does such a great job of that. Right. I think of the hill. Yeah. We had a client who, asked us to do an event and asked Vivian to bring her bar.
This massive, like 200 pound 6-foot bar
Yeah.
at the
And-
hills of Silver Lake.
And,
Viv is a
and what
beast.
they
The
don't
hills.
tell us is that their house is on a hill.
With like wraparound staircases that
Yeah,
go like
yeah.
all sorts of weird angles.
And you have to deliver you have to bring the bar up the hill through the house, and it's like a studio house, so you can't mess up anything.
Yeah.
And then you have to get to the backyard and drop it down. Now me, I don't have a poker face, so what I'm feeling, you see.
Right.
Okay.
That was
and-
hilarious.
And I was not happy.
He was not.
I was not happy at all. But Vivian has the smile.
Yeah. Can
She's
do.
we can
Yeah,
do this.
we got
We're gonna
this.
knock this
Yep.
out. And like you said, right? In my what was going through my head is going through Vivian's head.
Yeah.
But she just her poker
You're already
face
in it.
was
You're in
Yeah.
it. You
You're
have
in
to
it.
do it.
What
What
are
are
you
you
gonna
gonna
do?
do?
What are
Like
you
just leave it in the middle of the street? Like,
yeah. Brian did the same thing.
But you know what? That's why moving companies when they give you a quote, they say, "Is there anything
Right.
about the layout of your
That's what we
house
said. We have to start
That's-
including that into
that
our
is gonna
questionnaire.
be
Yeah.
that I have to
little-
worry about?" Right?
Yes.
Because I guarantee
Yeah.
you, I hope that you work that into your repertoire
Well-
of things to ask,
We need to.
right?
We need
Because
to.
Oh no, they came back just last week. And so I was like, let me add a delivery fee.
Right.
Because
right.
let me have somebody else do this
Yeah.
delivery.
Right.
Well, on the way
Sorry,
down,
Efrain.
I know, Efren, I'm sorry. On the way down, one of the girls ended up in the bush when we were trying to take the bar back out and downstairs, but we got it.
Oh my
Dang.
gosh. Yeah.
we got it.
That
Yeah.
was a journey.
You should ask them if they would like to purchase their own and then just leave it
Just
up
leave
it
there
there.
at
Great
the,
idea.
at the top.
Mm.
You know,
Save us all some time and backache.
That's
Don't ask
right.
what
That's
that.
it.
What is it? $2,000 fine line is at the bottom,
Yeah.
but we're gonna leave you with a free surprise
Oh,
at the end of the
yeah.
night.
That's
It'll be
it.
good.
I
No,
love
no. This also, I have a question for you.
Mm.
Tony, you're a man of the people.
man.
None of the people.
You know a lot of people.
Uh-huh.
You talk to a lot of people. You see a lot of businesses. You're a lot of grand openings. Are there any like tips and tricks you can give people for like networking effectively?
You know, for me, I think that one of the biggest misses is that people don't understand their elevator pitch, right? You've got 30 seconds to catch somebody, right? And either get them to say, hey, I want to know more, or get them to pay attention to you or whatever. And so that is itself is something that you have to practice, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys are a couple years into it. And if I said, hey, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to tell me about Happiest Hours, you're going to say boom, 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 boom. You're going to hit the highlights, right?
Yeah.
And I think that people miss that because you've been thinking about this business for years, right? Your family's been thinking about it for years. You, Alana, see, everybody's been thinking about it for years, and you've had hundreds of conversations, right? And you finally got to here. And even from where you guys started to where you're at now, you're different, right? You guys have grown,
Right.
which was always part of the plan, but maybe you didn't know all of that, and that's okay. But right now, your 30 seconds should be very tight, right? This is what we do. This is what I'm about, and that is gonna you want to get to the point where whoever you're talking to now wants to know more. Right. And so, get that 30-second elevator pitch just right and tight, because you've only got so much time with people before they have to move on. You have to move on, or you've lost their interest, right?
Because now you're just going off for like way too much.
Man, that is so gold. I love that you said that, because there's so many layers to it. There's one, like, go to a networking situation and try out different pitches. See how people perk up to it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how you know which one's going to stick. Then you also need to know who your audience is.
Sure.
You may have a different 30-second pitch depending on who you're talking to.
Absolutely.
Very
Right?
No, I mean, that's knowing your audience too,
Yeah.
right?
You gotta know your audience. So for us, like, if we're talking to anybody that's like could potentially book a bartender, we're like, hey, at Happiest Ours, you can instantly book bartenders and purchase the right amount of alcohol for any event, right money. But if I'm talking to a bartender, right, like, hey, we have this platform. It's a all-in-one business management system. That's going to help you run your bookings, and we'll be able to, like, attach you to a liquor license. So it's like different pitches, right? So know who you're going into, know who your audience is, but try different things. We've done this multiple times with Techstars and all that good stuff, to where it's all like, we're all like, me, CJ, and Alana, we're spread out. Even Nima, we're split out, and then we're just all trying different things. And it's like, okay, that was my vibe, because I was always like, you don't have to say things verbatim like how I do it. This is how I'm doing it. Take what you want. But see what works for you. You know, kind of thing.
And put it into your own
words.
spin.
Right.
I mean, like we started this cocktail here, and this is a non-alcoholic cocktail, right? Could you imagine how you, as the business owner, could you imagine having a 5-minute conversation with somebody, telling them about your mobile bartending business and all the different cocktails, just to find out that the one question that you didn't ask was, I don't drink.
That's a great way of putting it.
Right? And so,
what a great point.
Right? And so if you have that 30 seconds really tight, and they're like, oh, cocktails, and then their mind is turned off because they don't drink.
Right.
But then you
Or
say,
mocktails.
we have cocktails and we have craft mocktails. And they're like, wait a minute, right? And so now you could kind of craft that 30-second pitch to talk about what you could do for your mocktails and get more information from them. So I'm a student of sales. I love sales. I love sales, right? And so I firmly believe that if you listen, they will tell you how to sell them. Right? And so and good salespeople listen way more than they talk. Right?
100%.
It's like 10 to 1. You ask the probing questions, and then you shut the hell up and you listen, right? And they will tell you how to sell them. And so, you ask these you have these conversations, you give them a tight 30 seconds, you find out what you need to go, and then you just kind of move from there. The other thing too, that I think people lose out on, and so I'm a Gen X. Yeah, I'm a Gen X, right? And so my parents are baby boomers, and we didn't have social media, we didn't have computers, we didn't have internet, all that type of stuff. So we had to talk to people. Right. So folks nowadays,
and that's the short right there. Because your eyes perked up when you said it. I had to actually talk to people.
Talk to people.
And I had to not be an idiot when I talked to them.
Right.
And so people nowadays have a real hard time with that.
Yeah.
Because they all want to hide behind this thing.
Yeah.
They don't
Right.
want to talk to people. They want to just text or keyboard warrior it out.
But your business isn't doing
No.
this.
Mm-mm.
Right.
That's a small. You do this to talk to people, right? So
Right.
there are resources for people that if they're in a customer facing business and they're terrible at talking, that you could go and learn how to be comfortable,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, in my day job, I've given speeches for 20,000 people. And I remember, this is a true story, early on in my career, my boss calls me up on like a Wednesday and he goes, hey, I'm supposed to do a training for this other vendor tomorrow, but I can't make it. Can you do it? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Well, I show up and it was like 18,000 people.
Wow. God.
Right? And my boss showed up and I'm like, oh, great, you're here. You're going to do it. And he goes, no, I can't do it. And I'm like, what do you mean you can't do it? And he goes, I can't get up in front of that many people.
Were you guys at like a stadium or something?
But you're the
So
boss.
nice.
Right? Yeah.
He
Right.
served you to the wolves.
Right. And
on,
he goes, I need you to do it. And I'm like, you didn't want to tell me that? He goes, if I told you that, would you have showed
Oh,
up? And I go,
gosh.
thought about it. And I'm like, I don't know. But so I don't have a fear of getting up and talking in front of people, whether it's 18,000 people or whether it's one, right? I want to have that conversation. Some people just cannot,
Right.
right? They don't look you in the eye.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, they're looking down. They're unaware. They're unsure of themselves, and that's okay. Public
Yeah.
speaking isn't for everyone,
Right.
It's tough. Yeah. It's a skill.
but it's a skill that you can work on.
Yeah.
Right. So if your business is going to put you in front of people, and you are going to ask them to spend money with you, you better be good at talking to people.
100%.
Right.
Develop that skill.
Yeah. Yeah, this is so
Yeah.
good, and
Man.
I'm gonna follow up with this with the follow up game. So, one thing you've been able to do, I know with me and thousands of other people, you've maintained these relationships, right? That's a whole nother
Great
piece,
question.
right? So not only are you in the room networking and you're giving your 30-second elevator pitch, all that good stuff, but then you meet people, you got their business card, you got this and that, whatever. You've done an exceptional job of maintaining these relationships. What's the secret behind that?
Well, first of all, I think that's its own process, right? And depending on why you want to maintain that relationship, if it's a potential customer or whatnot. First of all, I'm old school. I'm as old school as it gets. I still write with a pencil.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Right.
Oh, I love it.
So I'm that old school, right? So
Same.
I will write cards to people, right? Hey, I had a great time meeting you, and I try to reference a personal situation.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
Right? Like we met your mom on our break, right? And
Yeah.
if I wrote your mom a card, I would say, I love listening to you talk because of your accent. I could listen to it all day long. Right? And it connects the meeting.
Yes.
Right? And it
Yes.
makes that person feel like you heard them.
Yeah.
And you did hear them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Or, in your case, gosh, I really like talking to you. I'm so excited that your daughter is going to have her quinceañera or her baptism or whatever. Love to be a part of it. Right? And you're connecting it for that person. And so it's making it personal. Now they feel like you're invested in them. Right? So the follow-up is super important. Even after you've booked a gig and you've performed the gig. Hey, I had a great time. I love, what a great cast of characters you had at your party.
You're
You can
singing to
tell
my
that you
heart.
guys have
Yeah.
been friends for 30 years, or man, I can't believe Bob jumped in the pool, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's like
Oh man.
all those different things. That's all part of the follow-up, because where you want to be as a business owner is where we talked about with the dentist. You just want them to call you up and
Yeah.
boom, we're done.
Just
That's
come.
it.
Yeah,
Just come, please.
whenever I have an event, I think of you, right?
Right.
And so you're now part of that process, and because that's somebody that all you're doing to retain that business is retaining that relationship. You don't got to market to them. You don't have to sell them on anything.
Yeah.
They don't haggle with you on price. It's just good to go.
Yeah.
As long as you show up,
It's
do
the
your
best
job,
Customers.
That's it.
They're good.
That's it.
right? That's where you want it to be. And you never take advantage of that. You never say, "Oh, I can't make it," or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's funny because this stuff, it's not rocket science what we're talking
Super
about
basic.
here. It's
Yeah.
not
Super
but
basic.
like 90% of people are not going to do
They're not
it.
doing it.
No.
They're not doing it.
We we talk about it when we do onboarding, right? We have you have a collection of data of all of your events. If you book anything through the platform, you literally have all of their information.
Yeah.
And we constantly tell them, we say, guys, use this, because our business is about nurturing. People just forget that they could hire a bartender to do this thing instead of doing this. And so you have to remind them, and you have to maintain that relationship. And it's not to be salesy or anything, but it's just to say, hey, remember, I'm still here, like that kind of thing. Like just checking in on you, that kind of thing, you know?
Just because it's top of mind for you, this is your business, this is, you want to get booked 5 days a week, doesn't mean that your customers are thinking about you at that same level, right? So you have to, hey, just wanted to reach out. Summer's coming.
Yeah.
I'm booked up 3 weekends in June.
Yeah.
But I got that fourth weekend if you're doing something or all that type of stuff is, and I will say this, I've read 1 million books on sales, just an absolute wealth of knowledge on sales. But one thing that I have always seen, like the common denominator, is great salespeople do the basics consistently. Right? They are absolutely consistent. You tell me somebody great in any sphere.
Thank you.
Right? Michael Jordan, right?
Yeah.
Greatest basketball player of all time, right? We could have the whole separate discussion about just that if you disagree, but greatest basketball player of all time. What did he do consistently? Right? Consistently, guy was doing the basics better than everybody else.
That was it.
Right? Consistently doing the basic things exceptionally.
That's it.
So do those things, and they're not hard things. It's not rocket science, right? We're not doing brain surgery here.
Right.
No,
Just put in the
it's
time.
I think
just put in
someone
the
said
time.
it best, right? You find greatness in the basics.
Yeah.
Right? Like in the simple things. The things that you take for granted, like you said, the people who do it consistently, those are the ones who are great. That's where you find the greatness. There, right? It's because you can you can depend on it like clockwork.
Right. Yeah. And to keep like punching on the situation of the follow-up, like we tell our bartenders, when you get a lead, you're either spending time or money on this thing.
Right.
Going back to what you said, nurturing your clients and making them recurring, you're not spending your time or money on that. Those are the best ones that you want, because like you said, they know the price. They're just going to pay. They like your service, this and that. You don't have to spend a lot of energy. You just have to nurture and maintain that relationship and be genuine about it.
Yeah.
Right. But like, what's expensive is brand new ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the brand new ones. So why would you not want to? It's almost like more important, because it's at the end of the day, if you don't want to have a shotgun approach. You don't want to just get that one new client and then boom, now you got to put all this extra effort to get a new one. Right? Like you might as well massage that one that you have, and you'd rather keep that one, right? So it's so important.
And you're at, like, let's use your dentist as an example. You're doing it 4 times a year. It's 100 people at every event. They're probably, you have some people that are repetitive at that event.
Yes.
But they also, I'm going to have a Christmas party. Man, I'm going to use that bartender that is always at Smile Bright's quarterly party or whatever it's called, right?
Yeah.
Because they've always got a business card out. Or a QR. Please don't just use a QR code, because some of us don't just fill off a QR code.
I was going to say.
Have an actual business card.
You gotta
I'm the worst for that.
Right.
No.
Have all the things.
All generations.
All the things.
Meet them where they are.
Yeah.
Right.
And
make it easy for them.
And talk to them too. How's your night going?
Yeah.
What do you? And I would ask everybody, what are you doing for Christmas? You're having a family event.
Yes.
I've got great Christmas cocktails. Give me a call.
Yeah.
Or
I love that. I love that. I got this graham cracker cookie, old fashioned we made last Christmas. That was amazing.
Create that FOMO.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And you find things out. I think I was watching one of yours. You said what is it? Riches in the niches. Is that what
That's Brian.
But if
Nate remembers that one.
but okay, so we're coming up. This is May. So what are 2 big things that are coming up, right? Memorial Day and 4th of July. Right? So I'm at an event this weekend. Hey, what are your plans for Memorial? Oh, we have this huge party at home.
That's a great idea.
Ding, ding, ding. What are your plans for 4th of July? Oh, we do this whole block party. Ding, 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 ding,
Oh
ding.
my gosh.
Right? Oh, I've got the best summer cocktail, blah, 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 whatever it is, right? Now all you're doing is planting seeds. And if
Yeah.
you say that to every single person,
Oh my.
because
Yeah.
guess what?
Seriously, you're gonna get one.
You're
gonna
the
get
bar-
two.
Yeah,
Yeah,
at least.
Then you hit the shotgun approach, right? Because there's
Right.
100 people there. You say the same thing to every 100 person.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
And here's my business card. Give me a call. I've got great summer cocktails, right? You say that to 100 people and you get one, that costs you $0
Yeah.
That's
for
it.
that
Yeah,
lead,
yeah.
right?
That's it.
So in business, they talk about customer acquisition costs all
Yes.
the time.
Yeah, yeah,
How
yeah.
much did
Your
it cost
CAC.
me to get
What's your
this?
CAC?
Yeah.
How much does it cost me to get this customer? You're there for free. It costs you nothing.
Yeah. Other than your time.
Yeah.
Just
And
your
literally,
time,
you're
yeah.
being paid to be
You're
there.
already
Yeah.
being
Right.
paid.
Right.
So even your
Right.
time is free.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Right.
Oh,
So be so much more specific versus just, hey, here's
Be
my card and
intentional.
be
Yes,
intentional.
be
intentional.
Versus just, here's my card if you ever need
Or-
anything.
And that's
Yeah.
why even to add to this, let's be more tactful here. That's why sometimes we would say, when you get booked, let's say it's a 50-person event, we know one bartender can handle it. Get your bartender to do it, and you just show up.
there you go.
You show up to mingle,
To
to,
mingle and
network,
network.
Yeah.
right? Be the bar back. Don't act
Right.
like you're just standing there to sell
Right.
stuff to people that, it's still a private event. So
Provide value.
you don't be awkward about it.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're there to say, hey, I'm going to bring an extra body. You can make it like, hey, I'm going to bring an extra body on the house for
Yes.
me.
Yeah.
And you just show up, but now you can network and you can do all those things you just mentioned.
yeah.
But
You know?
but the getting good at it part is how do I do it without being silly?
Yes.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Make it more genuine.
And
Right.
so
Pushy.
So again, you're the bartender. Everybody wants to come see you, right? And when you've got 5, 10 people deep, man, you don't got time to have
Yeah.
that one-on-one
Right.
time. So you're just slinging drinks, getting everybody their cocktail. But as you kind of get things under control and you're having people that are hanging out by the bar, and hey, what are you guys doing? Now you're being personal, right? And they say, and
That's it.
so what your customers is seeing is you interacting with their guests,
Right.
and having engageful conversation, and you're kind of keeping things light and
Right.
keeping everybody happy, and you're
Some
serving
laughter.
cocktails, right? Serving good times. But this whole time you're gathering data,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yep.
intentional what you're doing,
Right.
right? And so, hey, you have that conversation. I've got great summer cocktails. I got this really great winter thing, whatever it is, and please take my card. Love to hear from you, or
Yeah.
something along those lines. And maybe they take an interest and they say, how much does something like this cost? And you say, well, everything is custom. One of the
Yeah.
things that we do is this, that, and the other thing. If you go to our website, you can kind of customize for your event. Because I don't want to quote you for this because you may not have 500 people.
Right.
Right.
And they
Yours
always
may-
want a
Right.
number right then and there. They
Yeah.
always want a
Yeah,
number.
they always
yeah.
do.
Well,
They
just
always
tell me
do.
how, approximately
Yeah.
how much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell you
And-
something
back
right
in the
now, and
corner.
tomorrow when I look at it, it's gonna be way different.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
that's. Man, I just feel like your fictional business is just uber successful.
Yeah.
Right.
Your fictional bartending company is just like
Quick,
it's
what's your
growing.
bartending company's name?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Right.
No, because like it kills me, and we used to have bartenders, right? Who make great cocktails, but then like their response to a guest is, "Hey, what can I get you? What can I get you? What can I get you?"
Yeah.
And I'm like,
That's so true.
man, like
Anything, there was
we
anything
little
can do
sharp.
better
back.
than
Yeah, it's a little
be
sharp.
we
kind,
can do
just take it
better
in
than
order.
what can I get you?
Yeah.
But
Right.
that's the practicing, right? Like you just said a minute ago, they always want a price. They always want a price.
Yeah.
What if you were able to say, you know what, we can get cocktails as low as $3 a cocktail, right?
Boom.
Yeah.
Because then they're trying to do the math in their head, and they're like 100 people and 300
Yeah.
drinks, right? Yeah, and they're not going to forget that, but all they're going to remember is $3 a
$3
cocktail isn't bad.
That's
so
I pay
nice.
$9 when I go
Everybody
to.
write
It's
that little
so
tidbit
funny.
down.
This has a six-figure mobile bartending business right now.
No,
Right now.
He made the software we created. Where do we have? We have the price per cocktail right there
Right
because
there.
you got to speak their language.
Oh, did he not know that?
He didn't know that.
Tony doesn't.
He didn't know
Wow,
that. You got to
Tony.
speak their language. It makes all the sense. They can't quantify if you say $1,000. They're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But they can understand what the next
$3.
door bar is
I'm gonna
$20
try that
a
next time
cocktail.
someone wants a number.
Yeah, hey, my
Down
cocktail,
as
it
low
comes
as
out
$3
to less than
a
$5 a cocktail.
Yeah.
If I come to you
Yeah.
in this come to me world that we live in, I'm
Yeah.
gonna come to you, make craft cocktails for under $5.
Yeah.
That's how much it's gonna cost you.
Yeah,
My-
that's a great
Yeah.
move, Tony.
And because some people they just are fixated on a number.
yeah.
You're right.
All right, well,
You're
let's
right.
give them a number.
Yeah.
There you go.
You know,
Ah, Tony,
So
when we
good.
go into business together?
Seriously, but I'm thinking maybe is it hard to sign up to be a
Hey,
bartender?
not that at all.
I just signed up right
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
He
click
can
on
give
this
you
link
the demo
right here.
speech.
What
right
is my
now.
startup cost on something like this?
Oh, that's a whole nother episode. Do not get Ryan started.
I
yeah,
know.
You saw me getting like this
Yeah.
right now. Let's do it.
Yeah,
I
No.
can erase the bartending name.
Right.
Mayor Bartender.
yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah.
guys, this is so good. I want to. It's so funny. I'm like, what's great about you, Tony, is that it's not. Yes, you're the former mayor, city councilman. A lot of politics involved with that stuff, but you have a background in sales.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of this conversation is like, you got multiple things going on, and that's your bread and butter. That's
Sure.
who you are. But you just so happen to be good at the city stuff as well.
Wow.
How did you?
That's
That's
negotiable.
debatable. That's debatable.
Yeah.
Hey, you're still in it.
Yeah.
You're still
Thank
doing
you.
it.
You've been doing
Nobody's
it
coming
for
to
a
my house
while.
with pitchforks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fight them off for you.
But how do you? I can see the challenges with that though. Like, I know that there's some people that you probably work with that are like, all right, they're a little like over the top with this or whatnot. But like, how has that been a difficult transition for you on the politics or the political side of things?
Well, yes and no. I mean, there was a big learning curve, right? Because it's not that I'm just learning about one specific thing, right? I got to learn about a government budget, which is different than like a regular budget. I got to learn about street maintenance, and I got to learn about, negotiations with labor groups, and I got to learn about, parks, and I got to learn about all these different topics. And by no means am I an expert in any of them, right? But
Right.
I have to learn a little bit about a lot of it.
Right.
And then I'm given, specific tasks in the sense of we've got an agenda that comes out a couple days before the actual meeting, and I have to read through the agenda, then I have to understand it, and then I have to educate myself, and then I got to ask a bunch of questions so that when I get to the meeting, I can make an educated decision, right? Because that's what I'm here for, is to
Right.
make decisions.
Right.
At some point, I don't get to say, I don't want to make a decision on that one because it's tough, right? I have
I'm
to
good.
make.
Not
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
I'm gonna I pass.
Yeah. It's all right.
Yeah.
You guys go
Excellent.
figure it
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
I don't have that luxury, right? And so
Interesting.
for me, it's just been that learning curve of understanding. And I'll be 100% candid. That first 4 years, because I'm on my second term now, first 4 years, a lot of it was like swimming in the deep end
Right.
Yeah.
with a bunch of sharks carrying a bunch of ground beef.
Yeah.
You're just like, what is going on right,
Yeah.
now?
Whose agenda is what?
Everybody's
and
coming.
Right?
Everybody
And-
got something going on.
and so many things that you have to learn. You have to learn the ins and outs and the people and all,
Right.
all the different things,
Right.
right? The part that I've been good at
Mm.
is listening to people, right? And I've really
Yeah.
tried not to shy away from that. Whereas, if somebody calls and they say, "Hey, can you meet us?" Like tomorrow night, I'm meeting with a group of citizens, on a completely separate topic, right? And so I'm going to, do my best to listen to them, understand their concerns, and address their concerns. I can't. One of the benefits of being on a city council is that there's 5 of us, right? Yeah. And in order for something to pass, you need 3 votes. So even if I say, "Man, I love your idea, I'm gonna vote yes," that's not a guarantee that it's gonna
Right.
get
It's gonna
done.
get passed,
Because
yeah.
2 other
Yeah.
people have to say yes.
Right.
Right. And so if it and if it's something that I believe in and I really support, there's an avenue for me to be persuasive
Yeah.
within the Brown Act, right? So I could talk to one other person about it, but I can't talk to 2, right? Because if I talk to 2, then that's 3 people. That's a passing vote. So you and I could have a conversation, right? And you and I can align, but you and I can't have that same conversation, and then you and he can't have that same conversation as well.
Interesting.
So I can't say, "Hey, CJ, me and Ryan, we're gonna vote like this,"
Yeah.
right? And
You gotta
then
build those walls.
right, and so then
Yeah.
if you and I are in alignment of something, you can't say, "Hey, CJ, me and Tony are gonna vote like this," because that's
Right.
3 people, right?
Right.
So there's strategy involved,
Right.
right? In the sense of I want to make sure that I'm building consensus with the right person, and knowing, man, this isn't something that is their jam, and so that's going to be the person that on the dais I want to have my 30-second pitch tight,
Locked in.
Okay.
so that I can be as convincing as I
Win that
can.
over.
Because that's on the dais is when we make that vote.
I
We
see.
usually don't get it. We don't get a do-over, so to speak, right? So
Yeah.
we're deciding right now.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So you know that's the strategy behind it. You want to, you got to try and figure all of that out. First 4 years, you're just like, There's strategy behind
Yeah.
this, and
Mm-hmm.
what?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're kind of figuring that all out. I feel more confident in that now. But the thing that I've always been confident in is talking to people and listening to them and meeting them where they're at, and
Networking
And-
and connecting.
yeah.
Yeah.
and 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 I'd love to hear your guys' honest take too, because when I started doing this, I was told by a lot of people that I was super intense and that I was intimidating, and they were completely afraid to talk to me.
Interesting.
And then, like 10 minutes after talking to me, I heard this time and time again. You are nothing like I thought you were going to
Oh,
be.
Yeah.
God.
Right?
How do you
And-
take that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And- And so for me, it's like, I know that I'm great at talking to people.
Yeah.
But if they're afraid to talk to me, it's not like I can
Right.
run up to them and be, talk to me.
Right.
You know?
I mean, that's probably what scared them
Right?
off.
That's counterintuitive, right?
Right.
So I had to really think about that myself, and like, how do I become more approachable?
Yeah.
Right? How do I make people feel comfortable
Gosh.
in talking to me? I have never, I don't want to say never, like knock on wood somewhere, right? I've never had somebody that's talked to me and said, you know what? I thought you were a jerk, and you are a jerk.
Oh,
You
gosh.
just confirmed with my
Right?
thoughts.
I
Yeah.
knew it, and
Yeah.
you right. I've always gotten you are nothing like I thought that you were going to be, and so for me, that's always been like something that I work on. Just a funny story that I'll tell you. My year as mayor, right? I'm in City Hall, and I am getting on an elevator at the ground floor, and I'm going up to the third floor, and a lady gets on. And I think it was a city council day, so I'd come from work, so I had my work boots on, I had a pair of jeans, and I had a polo on that said Tony Daddario, City Council. And I get on the elevator, and I said to the lady, what floor are you going? Because I'm standing right by the button. She goes, oh, I'm going to the third floor. I go, okay, great, me too. So I hit the third button. And she looks at me, and I kind of see her go, like, look up and down, and she goes, what do you do for the city? And I said, well, I'm the mayor. That's exactly what she did.
She's like, just went cold and blinked.
She started laughing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like,
She started
get out.
laughing.
Like,
Right?
yeah,
Laughing.
whatever.
Almost like uncontrollably laughing, right?
what the heck?
And by
Yeah,
the time,
right.
by the time we get to the third floor, she realizes I am not laughing.
Oh, God.
Right? And she goes, no, really? And I go, no, really, I'm the mayor.
Oh.
Right? And we happen to be going to the same office, and at any city building, all of the council members, our mugs are posted all over the place, right?
Right.
You're all-
I
So
do
we
remember
walk
those.
in, we walk into the city manager's office, and our pictures are right there. And I pointed, I go, see, that's me. And like all of the color drained from her face, right? And she's
God, I
like,
would hate.
Oh.
right, and then just then, out of the like kind of like off in the distance, one of the employees was like, "Oh, Mayor Daddario, how are you today?" And the lady was like, and she was just
Oh
baffled
my gosh.
because I don't look like what
Yeah.
people perceive
Yeah.
Right,
a
right,
mayor
yes.
to
Right.
look like,
Yes.
which I love. Right, I don't
I
want to
love
be
it.
Me
some
too.
like
Yeah.
stodgy, stuffy,
Stuffy buttoned up.
yeah, kind of guy, right? And so I felt bad for her because she had thought that she's like, oh my god,
You were there to fix
I'm
a hole
surprised
in
she
the
didn't
wall.
just go straight home.
yeah,
Like I
Yeah,
would
right.
forget what I needed.
Yeah.
I messed up.
Right.
Yeah.
Done.
Bye.
Right.
Right.
Calling off sick.
Let me get a redo.
right, right. But that has been, probably the part that I love the most is that when people give me a chance, and I work hard to like make sure that people know that I'm approachable.
Yeah.
But when they give me a chance, they're always, man, you're nothing like I thought you were going to be.
You know what? Honestly, Tony, I think it is more of the title and then of knowing who you are that everyone, like your average person, will always think, I am never going to speak to the mayor.
Right.
Right? I didn't grow up thinking I would ever speak to the mayor or I'd ever run into him at Costco.
Yeah.
And and literally sit there for 45 minutes and just talk. How's life?
Yeah.
How like one-on-one.
Right.
That really happened with Tony and I.
Yeah.
We ran into each other at Costco, and we're so excited.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
right? We were like,
Yeah.
we were like
Well,
literally-
first of all, I mean, it was Costco, so us
Yeah.
adults are always in a
mean,
great mood at
yeah.
Costco.
and that was before Costco got rid of the churro. So
Yeah.
it was good Costco.
Oh, it was good times.
Yeah, it was good times.
No.
We are old.
But no, right? And like, but if you had told me 10 years ago, hey, you're gonna be, chopping it up with the mayor,
Yeah.
and really, who really cares
Yeah.
about how you are doing, how you are feeling, how's the family, how's the business, never,
Yeah.
never in
Yeah.
a million years.
Not on my bingo card for that
No.
one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. 10 years ago, if you would have said you're going to be the mayor, I would have been like,
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Right.
and even my friends, like I'm blessed that my friends of like 40 plus years, they're like,
Oh.
sure, the mayor? right?
Nerd. They're all
Yeah.
nerd.
Yeah. No, it's not, they're usually like, do they even know you?
right. But you know what's funny about that is that's what makes you successful.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
fact that we're all laughing about that and stuff, but like it makes you human.
Yeah.
And you can relate to folks like us.
Right.
Because just like that lady was probably laughing in the elevator because some people just think the mayor is this godly person or
Right.
some person out of this world that lives a different life and all of this stuff. When it's like, no, we can, like, Tony has some really cool sales advice that can apply to anybody, because he's done it.
Yeah.
Just like anybody
Yeah.
else, right?
The other thing
So-
I'd say is that I think with anything, it is you get what you put out of it. Sorry, you get what you put into it.
Right.
Sure.
And Tony is one of the hardest working men that I know. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you legit, from the time that you wake up to the time that you go to bed, you are working towards something.
Yeah,
Sure.
for sure.
Right?
Absolutely. No, guys, this has been fantastic. We can keep going. This is,
Oh,
too,
believe
this is
me.
too easy.
Like Lionel
This is
Richie
way
all night
too-
long.
yeah. Oh, I love that. I love
Quick.
that.
So
I love
quick.
that. Let's close it out. Tony, where can people find you? What's next for you, big guy?
Yeah, so people can find me anywhere. It seems like. I'm gonna finish out this term, and I've got 3.5 years. I'll be mayor again. The mayorship, we don't vote in a mayor. We rotate the
I
mayorship.
love it.
So I'll most likely be mayor again within the next 3 years, but I can only serve 3 terms, which is a total of 12 years. They don't have to be consecutive; they could be split up or whatnot. But I've got an 11-year-old at home, and at the end of this term, he'll be going into high school. So I really want to reevaluate where I'm going to spend my free time.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in term limits anyway, so I wouldn't want to do any more than we're supposed to be able to do anyway. But I'm a firm believer in, hey, get in. Hopefully you've done well that you could leave your city in a better place than it was when you found it.
Right.
And for me, it's kind of building the bench of people that maybe want to run as well. So like we pick commissioners for different, a parks commissioner, a planning commissioner, a library trustee. And for me, I try to pick them from my district so that if they have the desire to serve further,
Right.
they're already in place to run in my district.
Yeah.
So I think for me, that was good about building people that are capable and have the same desire.
Yeah.
So I think I've done a pretty good job with that. And maybe if one of them really has a strong desire, it'll make my decision to step away a lot easier.
Yeah.
My one fear is that nobody wants to do it. And you're like, then I did a bad job of trying to, bring somebody along. But also, like, I could only serve one more term. So worst case scenario, nobody wants to do it. I got to serve one more term. It's like, wait a minute. After this, I'm done.
Yeah.
If nobody else
Yeah.
steps up,
Yeah, for sure.
like, we've got a problem because it's set up by district. So, and somebody may be waiting for me not to run so that it's easier for them to run. Which is, it's strategic. So,
yeah.
but for the next 4 years or 3.5 years, we've got a lot of great things that are going on in the city. We're really did a great job of listening to our residents and what it is that they want and what it is that they want to see. and we're taking steps to that. We're you know, I don't want to say reimagining Corona because I don't want to take away from what made Corona Corona, and a lot of the history is still here. But, you know, Corona has evolved.
Yeah.
It really
And
is.
it's not the 20,000 resident town that it was. You know, we're approaching 200,000.
Wow.
You know, we sit on the boundary to Orange County, but also we sit where all of these freeways merge. So 400,000 people are coming through Corona twice a day. So we're high visibility, and we're trying to make it so that people that are driving through Corona are coming from somewhere else. We've got a Live Work Corona initiative, so we're trying to keep people in Corona for their jobs and for all that type of stuff, and kind of change the perspective or the vibe of Corona, if you will, right? I mean, we don't want people to think that this is a bedroom community and we just sleep there, but we recreate everywhere else. We want to try and bring things to people that are, you know, that are amenities and parks, and trying to create a downtown and you know, do a couple of things that are really, you know, really kind of bringing Corona up.
I love it.
And you guys are a part of that, right?
Yep.
I mean, really and truly, you guys are a one-of-a-kind business. You guys launched here in Corona. You know, you guys have woven yourselves into the community. You still don't live here yet, but that's okay.
Hey, we're gonna move.
We'll get there at some point.
Yeah, you
It's
know.
only a 1-year lease. Don't worry,
Right?
Tony.
Right? Yeah. You know, but you guys are doing things that are putting eyeballs on Corona, right?
Yeah,
because people are
that's for
coming
sure.
here.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, folks that live near your brick and mortar that, you know, maybe have moved, they're remembering you. And so as your business expands and you guys move into different areas and you know, things like that, this is what makes Corona special. Folks like yourselves.
Oh man.
Thank you, Tony.
Hey, we appreciate that.
absolutely.
We appreciate your time, and I know that when you're out of the city stuff, you're always gonna obviously be a part of it, man. So
I'll be starting that fictitious mobile bar.
hey, that's
started
it.
with-
That's it. No, we appreciate it, guys. This is a very super interesting one. Get involved with your city. We all live in some city that has some great people, businesses around you. You can collaborate with, do all sorts of things with. Tony dropped a bunch of nuggets for you guys to just
Lots
like,
of helpful
which you can
stuff.
implement like right away. So I hope you guys check it out and come tune in for the next episode.
Bye.
Cool.